So this segment we're going to be discussing Rishi Sunak kind of pretending, oh, we're kind of a new government and I'm looking to the future. And the interviewer was like, no, bro, you guys have been in charge for a while here. And he does a decent job, I think, the interviewer. His name is Tom Swarwick. Put some respect on his name. So we're going to see this embarrassing display from the Prime Minister.
Promises to get immigration down to the tens of thousands, promises to fix social care, promises to build 300,000 homes a year. The politicians who have spent more time campaigning for change than delivering it are Conservative ones.
So if we look at each one, I'm not sure which specific Tory Prime Ministers, given we've had a lot of them made all of these promises, but the tens of thousands ones, that would have been under David Cameron. Promises to fix social care, I think that's been under all of them, but that was definitely under Theresa May that she mentioned social care. 300,000 homes, I think that might have been David Cameron as well. So yeah, the Tory party have spent more time talking about change than actually delivering it.
Look, delivering it are Conservative ones.
I guess looking in the past, I'm just looking to the future. The choice at the next election is...
You know me, bro. I'm looking at tomorrow, while you looking at yesterday, which is, that's okay, bro. But I'm looking to tomorrow, bro.
There's a choice between Keir Starmer and me. I'm setting out for the country what I'm going to deliver, and that's really what the choice is going to be, right? It's not about what happened in the past. It's about who's going to change this country for the better in the future.
I mean, all we have to judge you is on your past to know what you're going to do in the future. Politicians are mostly predictable like that. You've not delivered on much. When you were Chancellor, the only thing you had going for you really was the furlough scheme. You didn't really do a lot else, let's be honest. Self-employed people got absolutely, got beaten down by you guys. Massive amounts of COVID fraud, massive amounts of PPE that should not have been purchased, VIP lanes, all sorts of other dodgy things. And bro saying, nah, don't, it's about the future, bro. Come on, man, come off it. Like, as Prime Minister, what have you done to tackle inflation? Absolutely nothing. And you celebrate the fact that you've done absolutely nothing. It's just embarrassing, really. I do want to draw your attention because the political orthodoxy, really, at this point in time, has been, high interest rates will tackle inflation. But, this from Dr. Swat, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, actually, but she works for the Bank of England. She's very good at her job. And, some clown, on YouTube saying, oh, look at this, accredited academic, trying to praise someone who's got, she's got a lot more credentials than I will ever have. But, she's saying high interest rates could ultimately hit young workers and those on lower incomes the hardest. And this is the only way the Bank of England have actually dealt with interest rates. And this is the same for the government as well. Saying, that the high interest rates are impacting people more. Speaking to the BBC, she said, quote, the economy's already flatlined and we think only about 20 or 25% of the impact of the interest rate hikes have been fed through to the economy. So I think there's also this worry that might mean that we're going to have to pay a higher cost than we should be paying, end quote. Interest rates take at least a year to typically take full effect on the economy. So that's absolutely terrifying given the situation we are in now. Businesses may cut jobs with more than 200,000 shed from the UK's labour force in the early summer. So people are losing jobs by the looks of it. The doctor is saying it could be worse, saying, quote, when you're growing as slowly as we are growing now, the chances of recession or not recession are going to be equally balanced. So we should be prepared for that. It's not going to be great times ahead, end quote. And that's what you really want from economists to say. It's not going to be great times ahead. The government are battling with the IMF over the narrative over the economy. She goes on to say, quote, nobody is doing this with a smile on their faces. I think it's very hard to see the sort of deprivation when we go to regional visits and we hear about it. There are just horror stories out there, end quote. And, she's not wrong. She's not been around for too long, but she has made some interesting select committee appearances, amongst other things. And I hope she gets interviewed a lot more. She's definitely a lot more intelligent than Andrew Bailey, as lower bar as that is. That man's... he's not a clown, he's the entire circus kind of vibes from him. But this is scary stuff here, what she's talking about. So for Sunak to present, I'm all about tomorrow, well, tomorrow's not looking too good either. Especially when she talks about regional inequality, like, we know that's been a massive problem here. But sorry, I went off a tangent there. We'll carry on with what Rishi's saying.
Whether it's on the decision on HS2...
Bro, like... you guys have made HS2 into a joke. HS2 wasn't just about speed, it was about capacity. That's the whole point of building the new lines. What you have done is, I think, made existing lines slower because you added more trains to them. And once they go from Old Oak Common, which I'm not convinced that's a real place, to Birmingham, the HS2 trains, the high speed ones, will switch to the existing lines, which are slow. You might as well put bricks in Sonic the Hedgehog's shoes at this point. Like, I don't get it. It was one of the biggest wastes of money I've ever seen. But then again, we are still the country that gave Dido Harding like £37 billion, which is most definitely the biggest waste of money I've ever seen. Never seen people burn cash like that apart from Ed Woodward.
The more pragmatic course to net zero, a new approach to our education system to set our kids up for the future, or the...
the education system is not great. You guys haven't put the funding in. I mean, there are kids learning from, having to do school at home because their schools aren't safe. So, big man, like, with no due respect here, what is Blood talking about?
The decision that I made on smoking, these are all big decisions.
So with the smoking, I think they're trying to raise the legal age of smoking, kind of trying to phase it in so that there'll be less kind of people who can buy cigarettes. So like, I think you can buy at age 18 now. I think they're looking to raise it to 21 and then gradually keep raising it until there won't be a generation of smokers. But generally, prohibition doesn't really work. That's one of the problems. And I think the more smoking on things, I think the more you ban it, the more cool it will look to people. That's one of the issues with that kind of stuff. So I think if you give people more access to the tools they need to quit, that would be more helpful. But again, I'm not an expert in that field. Smoking's a minefield to deal with vaping as well, another minefield to deal with.
Which will change our country for the better in the future, and that is an example. They're all examples of the leadership that I'm going to bring.
We don't elect presidents, we elect political parties. And your party, in your own words, has spent the last 13 years operating with a false consensus where they've spent more time talking about change than actually delivering it.
No, I didn't say that. What I said that actually I thought politics over the last 30 years had been characterised by that. And actually, as
13 in 30 is almost half of it.
And as I say...
So, I don't know what Sunak's quote was, but I'm guessing because the journalist kind of backed down here, Sunak probably said 30 years, right? If we look at the last 30 years, the Tories have been in charge for not just 13 years of it. There was the John Major government as well. From 92 to 97. So, the Tories have been in charge for the vast majority of the last 30 years, if we're going to be honest. And have they done a good job? No, they have not. So, for Sunak to kind of try and push this argument of, well, you're looking to the past, I'm looking to the future, is like, no, bro. Like, your party has fundamentally been in charge of the past for the longest, especially the further you go back. And, he can't pretend he's some new guy who's just come in charge. Like, it's my first day here. Like, you were Chancellor. You were an elected MP under, I think it was David Cameron, and then Theresa May. So for him to argue, I'm a new guy, I'm looking to the future, bro. Like, it's just shocking.
Ed, when I go around the country talking to people, I don't think it's not necessarily about this party or that party. It's a sense that politics for a long time has just not focused on making the right long-term decision for the country.
So, when we go back and look at these things that he says, right, around here, right, now, is anyone going to argue that these are the right long-term decisions for the country? So let's go back through these.
It's on the decision on HS2.
HS2 went over bad. Whatever your thoughts on HS2, scrapping it like the way they did just makes the last 13 years pointless, because they started this thing under David Cameron. It was apparently meant to connect London all the way to Edinburgh or some nonsense like that. They've gutted it, repeatedly. So what's HS2 now? It's just a quick way to get from Old Oak Common, which, again, whatever, to Birmingham. That's all it does. I don't know how many people are going from Old Oak Common to Birmingham. I doubt it's that many.
The more pragmatic course to net zero.
Again, on net zero, it's a bit of a joke, especially given how many jobs you could create with the new kind of green wave of energy and manufacturing. The Americans have figured it out. As much as we beline, old Joe Biden, old Uncle Joe, he's figured this out. The EU have figured this out. The only one who hasn't figured out is the guy looking at me through the screen.
A new approach to our education system to set our kids up for the future, or the decision that I made.
I don't know what he's talking about with the education system, but that's something I need to read up on at some point.
On smoke.
Oh, they want to get rid of A-levels. That was it. I mean, we've heard this before. They want to bring back GCSEs and bring back O-levels and all of this kind of nonsense. Despite my man saying, we're looking to the future, it's just stupid. Like, stop looking at old grading systems. And, when you were a kid, look how great it was. if you want to change the educational system, then come up with something new. Look at the other countries that are succeeding in this world. Look at the Scandinavian models. Look at the the Far East Asian models. Look at the countries that actually have good education systems. And look at what you can take from them, the best elements you can take from them, and put it into our own system. Stop talking about, I want to abolish A levels for T levels or some nonsense like, these bloody, they sound like viruses of Resident Evil. This is just silly. Just a kind of addition, actually, before we end the video, I did find this clip from Sophie Rich quite interesting, and I did also see an attack ad from the Labour Party, which was actually quite good. So we're going to just quickly watch those. So let's have a listen.
Good evening. Now here's a conundrum for you. How do you position yourself as the change candidate when your party's been in power for 13 years? Well, I guess one way might be to rubbish those who've gone before you. Because today, at his big speech at Conservative Party conference, Rishi Sunak promised to end what he called 30 years of the status quo, which basically means every Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher, including 5 Conservative ones. No wonder David Cameron isn't happy. He's tweeted to publicly criticise the decision to scrap the second leg of HS2, really a symbol of his legacy being torn up. I mean, remember, David Cameron didn't even feel the need to intervene during the Liz Truss chaos. But this is the thing.
Just quickly on the HS2 stuff, like, HS2 has been gutted, as we mentioned before, a lot over the last decade, really, because they don't want to fund it. But point being is, David Cameron getting mad about this kind of stuff it's a bit embarrassing given all the stuff he put us through. But yeah, I think he was kind of right to intervene. But yeah, he's not that guy, pal.
If you're going to rip up 30 years of consensus, effectively comparing yourself to Thatcher, well, you've got to be radical.
Liz Truss also tried to pretend she was a radical and said she's going to rip up the economic consensus. And boy, did she do that in spectacular fashion.
And looking at the policy announcements in the speech, scrapping the second leg of HS2, introducing a new post-16 qualification, increasing the smoking age, the only thing I can see that links them is they don't cost money. Unsurprising, perhaps, given this is a man who's also pitching himself as the candidate for economic credibility. But radical, exciting change and sensible, prudent money is quite difficult to be both of those things. Not impossible, but difficult.
I think some good, her analysis is really good. What I would say is that scrapping HS2 does save money. It depends whether the other bits of the money are invested to, the bits that are left, the money that is left. Raising the smoking age, I think that would cost us money because less smokers means less people paying tax. Change to the qualification will cost us money as well because it means more training is going to have to be given, which obviously has a cost. So they're not exactly free, but they are cheaper. These are cheap ideas, I guess. Cheaper anyways. And she's right about Sunak trying to pretend he's a radical, but push economic sensibility. They said they're trying to. Bloomberg had a piece out, saying that people are claiming Rishi Sunak's a sensible populist. You can't really be a sensible populist. The arguments of we're going to see the real Rishi Sunak. He's had a good few resets. I think Phil counted it as 4 kind of major resets in his kind of the way Sunak's trying to portray himself. It's just not going that well for him. He looks like he's having a massive identity crisis. At least he's gotten rid of the nerd classes, though. That's a good step. And this is Labour's attack ad, which is pretty good.
We need our economy to grow faster. We haven't grown quickly enough in recent years.
The biggest energy crisis in a generation. The level of tax is too high.
Now, I can't pretend that politicians have done a great job of managing immigration.
That's an oof moment. That, the party of law and order, the party of anti-immigration or low immigration, that's an oof moment from Suella Braverman, really, especially when you're Home Secretary.
Quarter of our children leave education without the basic literacy and numeracy they need to fulfil their potential.
I mean, yeah, we've seen some of the numeracy skills from the Tory party. It's not great. Stay in school, kids. This person types very slowly. Oof. Not bad. Whoever did the typing is a bit slow. They need to really work on that. But overall, I think it's a good attack ad. It's kind of added on to the video. But point being is Sunak is trying to pretend he's a new guy, saying
I'm just looking to the future. The choice.
Okay, buddy. But anyways. But yeah, this man's well out of his depth, talking about, oh, I'm looking to the future, etc. Like, it's embarrassing, bro. I think Tom Swarbrick did a decent job here. I think him misquoting Sunak is a bit not great, to be honest. I think that's bad journalism, in my opinion. So he's got, Tom Swarbrick got a few things to learn, I think. But I think he's done a decent job here of trying to hold Sunak accountable, saying we don't elect presidents, we elect parties, and his party has been in charge for the last, since 2010, really. So yeah, credit where it's due to an extent. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.